Good day and welcome to U-Talk. U-Talk is a program dedicated to diversity, highlighting native-born and new Canadians' cultures and experiences. I'm your host, Ryan Funk. A little good added to the world can go a long way. Monika Feist has dedicated herself to helping others. Monika's life's passion and activities have been as recognized workforce development advocate and change leader for equality and employment access issues regarding immigrants, women, other abled individuals, indigenous peoples, and youth. I had the opportunity to talk with Monika a little bit about the work she does and how she sees and what she believes are ways to help make the world a better place.
I'm Monika Feist. I'm with Success Skills Center as the CEO, and basically as a Chief Executive Officer, I guess I'm the one who has to get the money for the organization and make sure that it operates to the best of its abilities. We have a staff of 6. With government grants, you go up and down. So we've reduced to 6 as a result of the COVID, and all our staff were working until just last week. We've had several contracts, and those contracts are almost finished. And so I've again had to lay off staff. I laid off staff last March as well. What we do is we work with immigrant professionals and skilled workers. We help them in terms of getting doing pre-employment training, make sure that they're able to present themselves well. That includes such things as making sure that they've got professional resumes. They know how to write a good letter of introduction. The thank yous. We do a whole pre-employment program, basically, where they go through learning how to be interviewed and, how to answer questions in a professional manner. They get cross-cultural education. We do some indigenous awareness training. We have a couple of programs such as a networking program called the Connector Program. We have a partnership with 6 other agencies, immigrant agencies in Winnipeg that also help people find jobs. And then they refer individuals to that particular program. So then we bring in volunteers. We have business community volunteers coming in. They can be owners of companies or managers or staff that have been recommended to work with us, as well as people from the Rotary Club and other organizations, business organizations. Anyway, they participate and do some of the mentoring that's involved in the networking. So in some cases, individuals start developing mentors from that, or they get the one-on-one to be able to, try and find out more about the different companies and so on, and who they could be working for, what their particular sector is doing, who is in the sector. In the networking, they'll get a referral, or they get 3 referrals if they join the networking program with the specific employer that they may be, or the specialist in the field that they may be assigned to. And from there, they go to another 3 because that person then sends them to someone else still, and so on. So we provide the whole rounded sphere of employment preparation, and also support and obviously career counseling. We work with the individuals to get their papers certified, look at what they may still need. Sometimes they're told by the professional association that they only have credits for so and so much in their program of studies. So there are times we'll go back to those associations to negotiate additional courses for credit and so on. So we do a variety of troubleshooting as well as part of the program, as long as, when the client, is with us. And also they may go to work and still have problems, so we carry on with them in that way. So we may provide them with counseling assistance or career counseling assistance, or if they're running into a problem, if somebody's giving them a difficult time, how they might handle it on the job. So there's a variety of support systems that we put in place. We are a hub, the Manitoba referral, for a program called FAST, which is a program that helps people go through faster on some of the certification programs, for instance, in the accounting, in the biotech, and a couple of other fields. We're just about to be established as the Manitoba hub as the referral hub for the World Educational Services that does the assessments on people's credentials. I'm just trying to think of all the different things we do. We do internships. So we have several internship contracts where we place people with employers for a certain period of time. We had the present ones that we have. One was for 16 weeks and another one was for 20 weeks. One was for IT specifically. So we were training people or bringing people in for IT training. So they get individualized training as well as group training through the program. Just trying to think. We do so much.
Yeah, it sounds like your organization is really involved.
Yes. Yeah, our intent is to get immigrants back to their occupations as quickly as possible. We generally don't go do change occupations. In other words, we try to stick within the related occupation. Often the individuals have to, let's say you're an accountant back home. While you're getting your certification here, you may be working for an accounting firm or for an accountant. So you're getting time in the job, which counts in terms of the required hours, etc. Plus you're getting paid.
Yeah, and keeping those skills sharp.
Keeping the skills sharp and becoming familiar with some of the, with the work that's involved and so on. And at the same time, you are either getting your credentials assessed, which may take 6 weeks to 2 months, could take longer sometimes, depends. And at the same time, as you're registering for courses and so on, at least you're earning an income while you're within the field. So we try to get people close to that. Then it's up to the individual if they've got the desire.
The gumption.
The gumption was the word, yes. I did want to say that. The gumption to go ahead. I always say, you've got to be hungry, and I don't mean it in terms of starvation. I mean it in terms of you really want to do the job that you've done before, that you want to get back to that level. And so it really is up to you if you do want to. Those that do, I can tell you, I just got a message from Rani, one of our staff. She was working with one of our lawyers. Usually they get advised we give different advice than the community does because we've had so much experience in the field. There are specialized programs that move you faster. And we had a lawyer, and I just got a message that tells me, let me just find it and I'll just read it to you. I was really impressed. Where's my work thing? I got to get back to, I keep on having a problem. It's in the WhatsApp. Sorry there. There it is. Here it is. Got it. It's Rani, one of our counselors, just said, I would like to share with you that so-and-so, I won't give the name, accepted a position as a lawyer. I'm very happy today. It took 3 years of process. It was a slow process, but worth it. She took 8 courses in 2 years. So she did it in it was a 3-year process because she had to apply, and all that kind of stuff. But she did the courses in 2 years, and that would have been, she would have been working. Yeah, we've had other individuals have taken the whole time off because they have a partner who can support them and so on. But you have those kind of situations, and we have that for not only for lawyers. There are similar programs available for fast tracking programs for engineers, for example. And for others, you've got people coming here already certified internationally. So it means that they're already on the last leg of being certified here, but often they're told to go back to Red River College or wherever and take those courses, which are just at the beginning of the process. So they really need a lot better advice than what they've been getting in general. And that's what we do. We give them the best advice that can be possibly done for their particular occupation. And based on our experience, people move through faster. But as I say again, you've got to be hungry. You've got to want to do it. That does mean you're going to have to sometimes, not always, sometimes people do get certified all the way through right away. We have had some teachers that automatically got through, as an example, but they didn't think that they could. So then we'd say, well, you got to try. Here's what you got to do. So we take every person as an individual case, as a puzzle to be solved. And our intent is to solve the puzzle. And if the person goes with us all the way, it'll happen.
Yeah, they'll find that success.
Then the other thing we do is we work a lot with medical doctors, provide special consultations. Also, we do specialized interviewing practice with them in terms of the interviews that they're going to have when they're being interviewed, either to get into a program or if they're going or prior to a residency, etc. So we do a whole myriad of things. We'll even help them with their specific letters that they have to prepare what can I say? We walk them from one end to the other. They're doing the work, though. Please understand.
Yeah, of course.
We provide the facilitation, the guidance, the advice, but they still have to do the work. It's not done for them. And so they've earned, every one of them who gets there, they've earned it on their own merit because they have that capacity, and we know that they do.
Yeah, you're just helping them get, down that route a little bit.
We're facilitating.
That's a good word for it.
Right?
Yeah.
We're facilitating their journey. Other people call it helping them navigate the route. And we provide the different pieces of advice that they may need as they go along that route.
You're also heavily involved in social justice initiatives and organizations. So there was Immigrant Women's Association of Manitoba, Success Skills Center, Reaching Equality, reestablishment of the Junior Achievement in Manitoba, and Women's Employment Counseling Center. What is the importance of these kind of social justice initiatives and organizations, and why did you want to be involved in these?
Well, I guess each one of them have different interests that I've had in my life. Going back on the Junior Achievement, I was a Junior Achiever in its very first program in Winnipeg back in 1960, I believe it was 64, 65, I believe. And it was a valuable program. I was in it for 2 years. I believe it was grade 11 and 12, if I recall. And I gained a lot of knowledge. The company that I was with happened to be Great West Life at the time. And Great West Life advisors were just absolutely fabulous with us as kids. Really taught us well. We did well. Our company did extremely well in the program. Individually, I think we all gained a lot of skills and confidence, which is an extremely important one, confidence in moving forward with our life and what we wanted to do. Aside from learning how business operates, it's important to know how business operates and what all the concerns are. And you got it firsthand because we went through the process. So I was really keen when I was approached to sit on the board of directors to rejuvenate the organization. So I had my commitment. I was paying back to an organization that helped me in terms of my personal development, which I still feel today. In terms of the Immigrant Women's Association, well, that got started as a result of what is now called the Immigrant Center, which was at that time called the International Center, had conferences for immigrant women. I guess there was some funding from the government that they got. So they had yearly conferences and they'd get together and talked. But they talked. And everybody said, oh, this was wrong, and so on. So then finally what we did was I was invited to join the group or not join. It was basically to come down because it was happening. First, I was asked to speak to the group. So I did a speech at the conference. And I happened to say some things because at that time I was with the federal government, whereby, I mentioned that I felt that people were putting into little cubby holes, and particularly women. And because of the stereotyping, of course, women weren't getting into the kind of jobs in the background that some of the women had. And there were immigrant women professionals within that context that I was referring to specifically. We had women doctors, we had women lawyers, we had women engineers. This is back in the 70s from other countries around the world. And I was challenged on it, but nevertheless, after the conference, I sat down with some of the people who were organizing the conference, and I said, it's nice of you to talk about things, but I think you're going to have to start putting some resolutions in place, and maybe it's useful if you're also an organization, a formal organization. And then they got together. First of all, I got together with them to start organizing the different issues that they had. Some of them were with the government, with the department that I was with. I was with at that time. That time it was called Canada Manpower, which we had changed to employment. It became Employment and Immigration. We then started putting all the different issues, and I suggested, okay, some of them were federal issues, some of them were provincial issues. Let's divide them up. And so we did, and then I suggested to them they write to every government department on the different issues to the ministers and ask for very specific answers, whether it was daycare or pay, and so on. So that's what we did. And so the Immigrant Women's Association formed, I think it was 77, 78, somewhere in that time, and started operating and started lobbying. Now, right now, I think they're sort of in a transition. I haven't heard much from them, but I'm going to be checking in on them again to see where things are at, because it's been very quiet at that end. Some of the other things, Success Skills Center, well, actually before that, it was as a result of that and meeting a lot of immigrant professionals, I suggested that why don't we, because there was money available for women at that time because of the International Year of Women, the government put aside, which was my job, money for women. And I said, why not start an organization that helps these women get back to their occupation, and generally speaking, helping women, because at that time, back in the mid 70s and just late 70s, women were just starting to get back to the workforce. There was a heavier demand for employment and so on. And two people needed to work to support the family already. So that organization was formed, Women's Employment Counseling Service. Somebody came to see us, and we approved the project and got Women's Employment Counseling Service, which then became Employment Projects of Winnipeg at the end. Then a number of years later, someone came to see me in my office when I was still with the federal government. And she had a lot of background in with languages and so on, and she was looking to do something. And I said, well, the one thing that I'm not seeing yet is, although we have the Women's Employment Counseling Service, I think we need a specialized service for immigrant professionals that work with, to get them back to their occupations. It's a little bit more complicated than what can be handled in general. So that's what she did. She went, and I said, put the project together, come back. Again, we found money for her, and she started an immigrant women's project for professionals.
Amazing.
5 years, I left in 85, the government, and went into consultation. I joined a consulting firm as a consultant, and about four years later, I guess, after I left, she came back to me and said, Monika, I've got to leave. You're the only one who understands what needs to be done. Could you take the contract on? And I was very busy at the time because I was helping somebody write a book on the Sioux of Canada. And I just said, I've got that, plus my consulting contract, plus I've just had a baby. I'm really busy. Anyway, I ended up saying, okay, I'll do 10 months if that's what you have to do to finish your contract. So I finished her contract, and we just kept getting more people coming at the door, and I put in another project, and I'm still there today.
That's how it goes. So, you're like, okay, I'll do this one job, and then... So, I mean, now we're seeing more social services throughout the years coming up. What work still needs to be done in workplace development to remove barriers?
Well, it's interesting that you say that. Somebody just asked me the other day what did I think about resumes where you didn't have the name on it? And would that remove discrimination? And so I said no. And so they were surprised. And the reason I say no is that if on the resume you're still going to put in where you got your degree, I'm just using that as an example, what country you were coming from, then, you're not much further ahead when the person on the other side might still be biased. So to me, all I would like to see is resumes, blind resumes, so that you don't know whether it's a male or female, and that the individual responds to the competencies that are required for the job, and that they are interviewed on the competencies, as opposed to what country, what university, and so on. Because the moment you look at the university, you know where they're from. And if you've got any biases, it's going to happen now, or you're going to hire them and you don't like them. And that's a whole other issue. This is where a lot of education has to come into play. So yeah, I'd like to see one is have that removed. And, it's been proven, they've proven it with music, especially. You've heard about the blind study on that. I mean, there's been blind studies done where they had they've done it with resumes, which showed a difference in terms of the hires that resulted. They've done it with musicians where they played behind a screen, made sure that the floor was carpeted just in case there was a woman that was coming in with clickety-clack.
Yeah, heels on, yeah.
Yeah, and then they had them play. And immediately the hiring of the women musicians went through the roof. So, to me, I'd like to see competencies be judged.
Yeah, if
And the
people are
problem,
qualified for the job, they deserve
yeah,
it.
if you meet certain requirements, in other words, you got the right degree, then you accept that. You have such and such knowledge in such and such a subject, meets that, then you go for what the actual questions are. I mean, I would probably go as far as if you could do it so that you can't tell whether it's a male or female answering. You can't tell the color of the skin, you can't tell the accent, you can't, all those kind of things, because people really do make judgments. I mean, I can recall, it's not now so much, but I can recall where I have taken individuals and to the workplace where I would realize that this employer is not going to hire. I mean, I haven't experienced that lately, but then I haven't taken people to the workplace, and my staff haven't mentioned anything to me that they've experienced it. But they could have. I just think that I do still get the feedback, oh, they speak with an accent. Big deal. Get used to it.
Yeah, get used to it. Just live with it.
Yeah. And if you can't, I mean, my experience has been when I think all of my staff have accents. Yes, they do. I don't even think about that anymore because I'm listening for the content. I'm not listening for the accent. I'm listening to what it is that they're saying, which is much more important. And it means that I pick up my ears, or I had to pick up my ears. After a while, you get accustomed to the sound if you're not accustomed. And that happens with every language, So, sometimes I almost think there should be blind sound.
Blind sound.
Yeah, well, it's the reality, because there are brilliant people walking on the streets of Winnipeg who do not have a job in their field, where those particular professions are missing out terribly. So I think it behooves us as a society to use the brain power of its people, for cause, for work, for improving the conditions, because that very same person may be the one who's going to be finding or discovering or coming up with a solution that no one else has thought about. So, it's the same thing. I feel the same way with Indigenous people. We have a criminal in Canada. Every day I think about it, how criminal we are.
How do we work towards these changes?
Well, I guess we've got to convince a lot more people that things aren't, that if they're living comfortably, that they need to share that comfort. And if you want to share the comfort, then you're going to do something about it. You're going to make changes in the laws and the systems. Some of these things are systemic. Just like hiring practices, there's systemic hiring practices. So you've got to be willing to look deep into yourself and say, I am biased. I know I'm biased. I may not like to admit that, and sometimes I may not even know that I'm biased. And truly so.
If you have any stories you'd like us to share or communities we should highlight, leave a comment on our social media or reach out to us on our website. I'm Ryan Funk. This was You Talk, and have yourself a good one.